Alexandra Ela shares her thoughts on players' privacy after Coco Gauff's complaints. Coco Gauff's racket smashing at the Australian Open caused a mass debate around players' privacy at tournaments. Gauff smashed her racket to pieces after being eliminated by Alina Svitolina, but she did so in the players' tunnel where she thought she wasn't filmed. The American was not happy about being caught on camera, and she slammed the lack of privacy for high-profile tennis players. Several former professionals jumped to Gauff's defense, and now Alexandra Ela has voiced her concern about privacy. Alexandra Ela voices her concern about players' privacy. Speaking to the national news, Ela joined the discussion surrounding players' privacy after Gauff launched a sport-wide debate. The Filipina star, who broke onto the tennis scene with a remarkable run at the 2025 Miami Open, said she has struggled with the amount of cameras on her at all times. She said, "I am learning to deal with a lot of, these cameras, and a lot of the times when people see me, the phone is the first thing they reach out for. Which is something that I have to adjust to. I do value privacy a lot. I think everyone has the right to their own privacy, and sometimes being a public figure, the lines are a little bit blurred. Or sometimes I can understand that we don't have the power to draw our own line. I think everybody should have the right to draw the line of privacy." Ela and Gauff have spent plenty of time together on the WTA Tour, and even played doubles at the 2025 Italian Open, where Alexandra Ela is now ranked after Qatar Open first-round defeat. Ela's performances at the Abu Dhabi Open earned her a place in the top 40 of the WTA Tour rankings for the first time, but her recent loss has caused a slight tumble. The 20-year-old was defeated in straight sets by qualifier Teresa Valentova, which saw her drop back down to world number 45. The Filipina will next play the Dubai Tennis Championships, a tournament she is yet to play in her career, where she could bolster her ranking. The star will need to try and gain all the ranking points possible, as she will be defending over 300 points at the Miami Open. The star reached the semifinals last year, meaning if she doesn't match that position, she could be set for another ranking drop. When the lines blur, privacy, pressure and perspective in modern tennis. In the world of professional tennis, where every serve, volley and sprint is broadcast in real time, the notion of privacy feels almost archaic. Training has migrated from private courts to global live streams. Warm-ups happen under the gaze of countless lenses. Hallways and locker rooms, once sacred space, are now part of interactive fan engagement. This new era was thrust into the spotlight at the 2026 Australian Open, not because of a historic rally or a Grand Slam title, but due to a moment of candid emotion captured for all to see, and the ensuing conversation that followed. The incident that ignited it all involved Coco Gauff, who, following a tough loss at Melbourne Park, sought what she believed was a private corner to release her frustration, smashing her racket in a fleeting attempt to let go of competitive tension. What she thought was a moment removed from view was instead captured by so-called behind-the-scenes cameras, streamed, circulated and dissected by fans and media alike. Gauff's candid reaction wasn't just a clip on YouTube, it became a catalyst for debate about the unrelenting scrutiny players face, even off-court. But into that same conversation stepped a rising voice, Alexandra Ela, the young Filipina star who has been making waves on the WTA Tour not only with her on-court promise, but also with her thoughtful perspective on life as a modern athlete. Ela's reflections add depth to a discussion that extends far beyond one moment at a single tournament. The young voice in a big debate. Ela, still early in her career but acutely aware of the demands and expectations placed on athletes, spoke candidly about the contrast between public presence and personal privacy. "I am learning to deal with a lot of, these cameras," she said, acknowledging just how omnipresent media has become in the daily lives of players. Her words are striking not because they are dramatic, but because they come from someone whose narrative in tennis is still unfolding. Here is a competitor who values privacy, not as an abstract right but as a lived experience, something she insists is human, irrespective of one's fame or sport. "I do value privacy a lot," Ela reflected. "I think everyone has the right to their own privacy, and sometimes being a public figure, the lines are a little bit blurred." Through those calm words, Ela reframes the issue at hand. In a hyper-connected sport, where visibility often equals value, how does one reconcile the commercial and promotional allure of constant coverage with the basic human need for personal space? Why privacy matters. More than a buzzword to many tennis fans, the idea of players being watched everywhere can seem like part of the package. After all, tennis thrives on storytelling. Fans crave insight into pre-match routines, reactions, and even personalities off-court. But that hunger for content has consequences. Consider this: at major tournaments, cameras aren't limited to capturing on-court drama. They follow players from drop-off areas to hallways, training rooms, cool-down spaces, and, increasingly, spaces that were once off-limits. These cameras were introduced with good intentions: to humanize players, boost visibility, and offer unprecedented access to the sport. But intentions don't always align with outcomes. For many players, this constant observation can feel invasive rather than inclusive. Gauff herself made the poignant remark that, "At this tournament, the only private place we have is the locker room," a sentiment that resonated with many who saw her on-court vulnerability mirrored in the corridors beyond. It's a stark illustration of how the sphere of athletic performance, historically defined by competition and discipline, has slowly expanded to encompass entertainment, reality-style programming, and fan engagement. And while audiences might delight in behind-the-scenes glimpses, players often experience a different reality, one where every step feels surveilled, catalogued, and judged. Perspective from inside the tour. Eala's remarks didn't exist in a vacuum. They were part of a broader chorus of voices from across the tennis world, including champions and seasoned veterans, all echoing a similar concern. Many players have compared the pervasive filming to being like animals in a zoo, a line that captured both the absurdity and discomfort of constant observation. The concern isn't merely about being seen, it's about agency over one's own moments. Is it fair that a player choosing to stretch out, breathe, or process disappointment in solitude can end up a viral meme? Should the quest for content override an athlete's right to emotional and psychological space? These are questions Eala's comments encourage us to ponder. A balanced conversation, not blame. What's particularly insightful about Eala's contribution is her balanced stance. She doesn't call for a removal of cameras entirely. Instead, she highlights a right to define and draw the line for oneself. This nuance matters deeply in an era where digital media consumption is at an all-time high. Sports organizations, while committed to engaging fans, must also acknowledge the very real emotional labor athletes undertake.